has kept its benchmark interest rate unchanged at 0.75%. What do you think is impacting the euro the most?
Well, the ECB definitely downgraded their outlook on growth, which was not very positive, of course. But I think what's probably a greater concern right now is movement towards the banking union and the single supervisory mechanism. I think indications of a slow movement towards that goal is something that will create great degree of concern amongst currency markets, because it is something that's seen as necessary, not just for the longer term stability of the European financial system, but also for the ability of the ECB to achieve a more efficient pass-through of its monetary policy and less of a degree of fragmentation between its policy impact on the periphery versus the core countries in Europe.
What is your reading into the U.S. fiscal cliff stalling? Do you think the market can expect another round of QE on December 13?
Well, I think the more or the steeper the fiscal cliff fall off and the more acrimonious the debate is amongst the U.S. political parties, the greater the probability that the Federal Reserve is going to need to step in and undertake additional monetary easing. I think that we're probably leaning towards another incremental addition of easing to maintain the pace of expansion in the balance sheet that was indicated at the last, the QE3 announcement, really. So I think we are probably leaning towards that expectation.
Japan is out with a series of economic data as well as a revised GDP data, all ahead of the December elections. What kind of movements can investors expect from the yen against other developed and emerging Asian currencies?
Yeah, well, I think it was most important that you put it in the context of the election. I think that's probably the major driving force. The data, of course, will have short-term implications, but I think the fact that the opposition has indicated it would very much prefer a much more monetary lax Bank of Japan is typically the main driver of the yen these days. And I think should we see Mr. Abe elected as is expected, we could see some additional strong measures from the Bank of Japan aimed at weakening the currency and expanding monetary policy.
Which Asian currencies do you like best? Which one has the most value?
Right, well, in the post-QE3 announcement, we have seen a lot of currencies come quite far fairly quickly. The Korean won comes to mind as one that, though we still have a bullish outlook on, is seeming to be a little bit stretched in the near term, and we are seeing a bit more discomfort amongst Korean policymakers. So though that one remains a medium-term favorite of ours, I think in the near term we may be a little bit more focused on currencies like the rupee, which Indian rupee, which is set for some positive sentiment gains, as we've seen in the last few sessions, on this pace of reforms and possibly some trade cyclicality that may support the currency in the first quarter of 2013.